The letter arrived on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday. I was halfway through my deployment at Ramstein Air Base in Germany when the mail clerk handed me a plain white envelope that would obliterate my entire world in under 60 seconds. No return address. But I knew that handwriting. I'd seen it on birthday cards, love notes, and our marriage certificate. My heart actually skipped thinking Mike, my husband, had finally written me a real letter instead of his usual quick texts. I tore it open with a smile that died the moment I read the first line. Our marriage is over. I've moved on. Don't try to contact me. This is final. 3 sentences, 22 words. That's all it took to destroy 8 years of my life. While I was dodging mortar fire and treating wounded soldiers 12,000 miles from home, my husband was serving me divorce papers with all the warmth of a parking ticket. No explanation, no apology, just a cold, calculated dismissal that felt like it came from a complete stranger. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for my phone. This had to be a mistake. Maybe he was having a breakdown. Maybe someone else wrote this. I dialed his number and heard the 3 words that confirmed my worst nightmare. This number is blocked. I frantically opened every app we'd shared our perfect life on. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. Blocked. Everywhere. 8 years of marriage photos, vacation memories, anniversary posts, erased like I never existed. I thought I knew Mike Rodriguez better than I knew myself. I thought we were the couple everyone envied, the one with no secrets, no lies, just pure, honest love. I was about to discover I'd been married to a ghost. What I found when I got home didn't just break my heart. It exposed a criminal mastermind who'd been playing a game I didn't even know existed. If you want to know how I turned the tables and made him pay in ways he never saw coming, smash that subscribe button now. Tell me in the comments, have you ever realized the person you trusted most was your biggest enemy? Because this story is about to get very, very dark. My name is Lena Rodriguez. I'm 29 years old, and I'm a military intelligence officer with the United States Army. This was my second deployment, and I was damn good at my job. I could spot lies, decode patterns, and read people like open books. Apparently, I was also blind as a bat when it came to my own husband. See, Mike and I weren't just married. We were that couple. You know the one. The couple your friends secretly hated because we made love look effortless. We met 3 years ago at a military charity gala in San Antonio. I was there in my dress blues, he was there in a perfectly tailored suit, and when he walked up to me at the bar, I swear the entire room just faded away. He told me later that he'd been watching me all night, waiting for the courage to approach the most beautiful woman in the room. Classic line, but the way he said it, I believed every word. We talked until the venue kicked us out at 2 a.m. He knew exactly what to say, exactly how to make me feel like I was the center of his universe. The romance was a whirlwind. Flowers delivered to my office, surprise weekend trips, love letters that made my heart race. When I told him about my upcoming deployment, he didn't flinch. He said he'd wait forever for someone like me. He said my career made him proud, that dating a military officer was an honor. I thought I'd found my person. The man who understood sacrifice, loyalty, and commitment. Everything I valued, he seemed to value too. Financial responsibility, he had a stable job and savings. Trust, he gave me complete access to his life. Loyalty, he proposed 6 months after we met, saying he didn't want to waste another day without me. Everyone said we were relationship goals. My friends envied how supportive he was, how he'd video call me every single day during my first deployment, how he'd send care packages and countdown calendars. My family adored him. My commanding officers' wives used to ask me for relationship advice because Mike and I seemed so perfectly in sync. I believed them. I believed all of it. I thought I'd hit the jackpot, a man who loved my strength instead of being threatened by it, who celebrated my independence instead of trying to control it. I was trained to detect deception for a living. I could spot a liar from across a crowded room, identify security risks, and uncover hidden agendas. But somehow, I lived with the greatest deceiver I'd ever encountered and never saw it coming. That should have been my first clue that Mike Rodriguez wasn't just a cheating husband. He was something far more dangerous. I flew home from Germany with my heart pounding, still clinging to some desperate hope that maybe this was all a misunderstanding. Maybe Mike was having a breakdown. Maybe I could fix this. The taxi pulled up to where our house should have been, and I saw a sold sign stabbed into the front yard like a knife through my chest. Our beautiful 2-story home with the white picket fence and the garden I'd planned from overseas, sold. Gone. I stood there on the sidewalk with my duffel bag, staring at strangers' cars in our driveway, and that's when the full weight of my reality hit me. I was homeless. I rushed to the nearest ATM with shaking hands, praying our joint account still had something, anything. The screen showed a balance that made my knees buckle. $0 and 0 cents. Our savings account that had $780,000 when I deployed. Completely drained. Every penny I'd earned, every deployment bonus, every dollar we'd saved for our future. Gone. I tried calling Mike one more time, desperate for any explanation. The automated voice felt like a slap. The number you have dialed has been disconnected. I checked every social media platform, every email, every way we used to communicate. Not just blocked, it was like Mike Rodriguez had never existed. That first night, I slept in my rental car in a Walmart parking lot, using my deployment bag as a pillow. A decorated military intelligence officer, reduced to hiding in a parking lot because I was too ashamed to call anyone for help. But the worst part? I started digging. And what I found made my blood run cold. I discovered Mike had done this before. I found old forum posts, legal documents, newspaper articles about other women who'd been destroyed exactly the same way. Sarah from Colorado, he took $1,400,000. Jennifer from Texas. He left her bankrupt and homeless. The pattern was identical every time. Charm, marry, drain, disappear. By week 2, I was eating at food banks and showering at the gym. Me, a woman who'd served her country, who'd risked her life for freedom. Standing in line for free meals because the man I trusted had systematically destroyed my entire life. He didn't just steal my money. He stole my dignity, my future, my ability to trust another human being. He took a strong, independent woman and turned her into someone who jumped every time her phone buzzed, who questioned every kind gesture, who looked at every relationship like a potential trap. But Mike made one critical mistake. He thought he'd broken me completely. He thought I'd curl up and disappear like his other victims. He had no idea he'd just declared war on someone trained to fight back. I knew I couldn't fight this battle broke. If I was going to take down Mike, I needed resources, and swallowing my pride was the first step in getting them. I started a GoFundMe page with shaking hands and a heart full of shame. The title read, "Military Officer Scammed by Husband, Need Help to Fight Back." Writing out my story for the world to see was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. Here I was, a decorated intelligence officer, admitting to strangers that I'd been completely fooled by a con man. But something incredible happened. Within 24 hours, donations started pouring in, not from strangers, from my military family. Soldiers I'd served with in Afghanistan sent $50, $100, whatever they could spare. My old drill sergeant sent $500 with a message, "Rodriguez, you took care of us overseas. Now we take care of you. Get this bastard." Fellow female officers shared my story on every military spouse Facebook group they could find. The donations kept coming, but I knew it wasn't enough. I needed more, and I needed it fast. So I did something I'd never imagined I'd have to do. I became a woman working 3 jobs just to survive. During the day, I worked online tutoring high school students in math and science. Nights, I worked security at a warehouse from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Weekends, I catered events, serving fancy appetizers to people who had no idea the woman refilling their wine glasses was plotting the takedown of a serial predator. But even 3 jobs wasn't enough. I started selling everything I owned. My jewelry, my furniture, my television, my laptop, everything that wasn't nailed down went on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. The hardest thing to sell was my grandmother's wedding ring. She'd given it to me before she died, telling me to wear it on my wedding day as my something old. I stood in that pawn shop, holding the ring that represented 4 generations of strong women in my family, and I made a choice. I sold it for $800 because I knew my grandmother would want me to fight back. But every single penny I earned, every dollar donated, every cent from selling my life away, it all went into what I called my war fund. By month 6, I had done the impossible. I ate ramen noodles for 6 months and slept on a friend's couch, but I raised $230,000 for my war fund. $230,000 that would fund the most important mission of my life, hunting down Michael Rodriguez and making sure he never destroyed another woman again. The money wasn't just cash, it was ammunition, and I was about to use every single dollar to wage a war he never saw coming. With $230,000 in my war chest, I did something that would change everything. I hired Marcus Chen, the best private investigator money could buy in all of Texas. This guy had worked with the FBI for 15 years, tracked down international fugitives, and had a reputation for finding people who didn't want to be found. His fee was steep, $2,000 a day plus expenses, but I didn't care. I would have paid 10 times that amount. "Give me 3 weeks," Marcus said when I handed him Mike's photo and every piece of information I had. "If there's dirt to find, I'll find it. And from what you're telling me, there's a lot of dirt." What he uncovered in those 3 weeks didn't just shatter everything I thought I knew about Mike. It revealed a level of evil I didn't know existed in the real world. If you're enjoying the story, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel now. Mike Rodriguez wasn't even his real name. His actual name was Michael David Thompson, and he was a serial marriage scammer who'd been operating across multiple states for over 8 years. This wasn't some crime of passion or a husband who got desperate and made bad choices. This was a calculated, methodical predator who had turned destroying women's lives into a full-time career with military precision. Marcus handed me a file that was 4 inches thick and must have weighed 5 pounds. Bank records, marriage certificates, police reports, bankruptcy filings, court documents, even psychiatric evaluations. Mike had done this to at least 15 women across 8 different states. Each time, the pattern was absolutely identical. Target successful, independent women, charm them completely, marry them quickly, gain access to their finances, drain everything, then disappear without a trace. But here's what made my blood run cold. He had profiles. Detailed psychological profiles on each of us. He knew exactly what type of woman to target: military personnel, doctors, lawyers, business owners. Women with substantial assets and a strong sense of loyalty who wouldn't immediately suspect betrayal. He studied us like a hunter studies prey. "This guy is a professional," Marcus told me as he spread the documents across his conference table. "He's got fake identities, multiple social security numbers, offshore accounts. This isn't amateur hour, this is organized crime." But Marcus found something even more valuable than evidence. He found the other victims. And when I say victims, I mean women whose lives had been completely obliterated. Sarah Williams was a tech executive from Austin who'd built a software company from nothing and sold it for millions. Mike targeted her at a tech conference, swept her off her feet, married her within a year, and systematically drained every account she had. When I called her, she broke down crying just hearing his name mentioned. "I lost $1.4 million, she sobbed into the phone. "My entire life savings, my business accounts, my retirement fund, everything. I thought I was the only one stupid enough to fall for something this obvious. I've been too ashamed to tell anyone the full truth." Jennifer Martinez was a successful realtor from Houston who'd built a multi-million-dollar real estate empire before she turned 30. Mike destroyed her in 18 months. Not just her money, her house, her investment properties, her business, her reputation, nearly her sanity. He told me the exact same lies. Jennifer whispered during our first phone call, her voice shaking. Word for word, the same promises about our future, the same romantic gestures, even the same pet names. I wasn't his wife. I was just another Mark following the same script. When Marcus showed me the financial records, I wanted to throw up. Mike had stolen over $4.2 million from women across the country. He wasn't just ruining individual lives. He was running a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise with victims in Texas, California, Colorado, Florida, New York, and Arizona. The 3 of us, Sarah, Jennifer, and I, met at a coffee shop in San Antonio on a Tuesday morning that would change all our lives forever. We sat there for 6 hours, comparing notes, sharing stories, and realizing we'd all been played by the same master manipulator down to the smallest detail. It was eerie how identical our experiences were. The same romantic lines, the same timeline for gaining our trust, the same financial moves, even the same excuses when he started pulling away. We weren't individual victims. We were products on an assembly line of destruction. Sarah had kept detailed financial records because her business background made her naturally organized. Jennifer had screenshots of his dating profiles because she'd suspected something and started documenting everything. I had my military intelligence training and a burning desire for justice that could power a small city. "We can't just let him keep doing this," Sarah said, her voice getting stronger as our conversation continued. "There are other women out there right now who have no idea what's coming for them. Women who are probably getting the same romantic texts we got, falling for the same lies. There's probably a woman somewhere right now planning her wedding to this monster," Jennifer added, her hands clenched into fists, thinking she's found her soulmate while he's already planning how to destroy her life. That's when something clicked inside me. "Then we stop him," I said, feeling more certain than I'd felt about anything in months. "We pool our resources, our information, our skills, and we hunt him down like the predator he is. We make it our mission to not just get our money back, but to make sure he never hurts another woman again." Jennifer smiled for the first time since I'd met her. "I'm in. I've got nothing left to lose and everything to gain. What do we need to do?" Sarah leaned forward. "I still have contacts in tech, people who can help us track his digital footprint. And I've got money I can contribute to this fight." We spent the next 4 hours planning like generals preparing for war. Sarah would handle the technological side, tracking his online presence, monitoring his movements, identifying his current targets. Jennifer would use her real estate connections to track property records and financial transactions. I would coordinate everything using my military training and lead the investigation with Marcus. We weren't just broken women anymore. We were a task force with unlimited motivation, combined resources totaling over $300,000, and one crystal-clear mission: destroy Michael Thompson before he could destroy another life. That night, I went back to Maria's couch feeling something I hadn't felt in months: hope. Not just hope for getting my money back, but hope that we could actually stop this monster from hurting anyone else. Mike thought he'd scattered us to the wind, left us too ashamed and broken to fight back. Instead, he'd created his own personal army of highly motivated, well-funded enemies who knew exactly how he operated and exactly what it would take to bring him down. If you think this story is intense now, just wait until you see what we discovered about his current victim and how we set the trap that would destroy him completely. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because this revenge story is about to get absolutely brutal. If someone destroyed your life like this, how far would you go to get justice? Will you leave it for God, or will you get justice by yourself? Let me know in the comments. The hunt was on, and I was about to turn Michael Thompson's life into a living nightmare using every skill the Army had taught me. Military intelligence isn't just about gathering information. It's about psychological warfare, strategic planning, and knowing your enemy better than they know themselves. My first move was social media, and I hit him like a digital tsunami. I created a TikTok account called Exposing Mike Thompson and posted our first video at midnight on a Tuesday. The video was simple, just me, sitting in front of my laptop, holding up Mike's photo and saying, "This man is Michael David Thompson. He's a serial marriage scammer who's stolen over $4 million from women across America. If you're dating this man, run." Within 6 hours, that video had 50,000 views. Within 24 hours, it hit 500,000. By the end of the week, it had over 2 million views, and women were commenting from all over the country saying they'd seen him on dating apps or had been contacted by him. But I wasn't done. I created Instagram posts, Facebook warnings, even LinkedIn alerts. I used every hashtag related to dating, relationships, and marriage fraud. #marriage scammer, dating danger, Michael Thompson, women beware. The posts spread like wildfire. Sarah used her tech connections to boost our posts algorithmically, making sure they appeared in searches for Mike's various fake names. Jennifer used her business network to share the warnings across professional women's groups. We turned social media into a weapon, and Mike was the target. Within 2 weeks, Mike's face was everywhere online. Dating websites started removing his profiles. Women's Facebook groups were sharing his photo with warnings. He couldn't create a new dating profile without someone recognizing him and reporting it immediately. But social media was just the beginning. I used my military intelligence training to track every aspect of his life in real time. I found where he was living, a luxury apartment in Dallas under the name Marcus Rodriguez. I called his landlord, introduced myself as a concerned citizen, and explained exactly who their tenant really was. I sent them copies of news articles about his criminal activity and court documents showing his history of fraud. He was evicted within 30 days. When he got a job at a financial consulting firm, I called HR and informed them that their new employee was currently under investigation for marriage fraud and had stolen millions from previous victims. I sent them documentation of everything. They fired him the same day. Every time Mike tried to start over somewhere new, I was already there waiting for him. He'd get a new apartment, I'd contact the landlord. He'd start a new job, I'd call his employer. He'd join a gym, and I'd inform the management about the predator in their facility. But the most brilliant part of my strategy was the fake dating profiles. I created 3 different fake identities: Amanda, a wealthy doctor from Houston; Rachel, a successful lawyer from Austin; and Victoria, a business owner from San Antonio. I made these profiles irresistible to Mike, exactly his type of target. Successful, financially stable, slightly lonely, looking for love. It didn't take long for him to take the bait. Within 2 weeks, he'd contacted all 3 of my fake profiles. I was literally dating myself as 3 different women, and Mike had no idea he was walking into a trap. The conversations were identical to what he'd said to me, Sarah, and Jennifer. Word for word, the same romantic lines. "I've been looking for someone like you my whole life. I believe in fate, and I think fate brought us together. I want to take care of you and make you feel like the queen you deserve to be." But this time, I was recording everything. Every text, every phone call, every video chat. I was building a real-time case file of his current criminal activity. When he asked Amanda about her financial situation, I recorded it. When he told Rachel about his fake tragic backstory to gain sympathy, I documented it. When he started love-bombing Victoria with promises of marriage and forever, I saved every message. I turned his own playbook against him. Every move he made, I was 3 steps ahead, because I knew exactly what he was going to do before he did it. The psychological pressure started getting to him. He began posting paranoid messages on social media about crazy exes trying to ruin his life. He started looking over his shoulder everywhere he went because he never knew who might recognize him from our viral campaigns. Marcus, my private investigator, told me that Mike had started changing his appearance, dyeing his hair, growing a beard, even considering plastic surgery. The confident predator who'd destroyed so many lives was becoming a paranoid, anxious mess who jumped at shadows. But I wasn't satisfied with just making him uncomfortable. I wanted him broken. I started phase 2 of my psychological warfare, making him question everyone around him. I created fake social media accounts and started following his friends, coworkers, and anyone in his social circle. I'd like their posts, comment on their photos, and make my presence known without being obvious about it. Mike started becoming paranoid that everyone around him was connected to me somehow. He'd meet someone new and wonder if they were working with me. He'd go on a date and spend the whole time looking around the restaurant, wondering if I was watching. The beautiful thing about psychological warfare is that once you plant seeds of paranoia, they grow on their own. Mike was doing half my work for me just by being terrified of what I might do next. I made sure he knew I was everywhere. When he moved to a new city, local news stations would run stories about the marriage scammer in their area. When he tried to date someone new, women's groups would share warnings about him. When he applied for jobs, his Google search results were filled with articles about his criminal activity. I turned his entire existence into a prison of fear and paranoia, and the walls were closing in every single day. The man who'd destroyed so many lives by being charming and trustworthy was now incapable of trusting anyone and terrified that his charm wouldn't work anymore. He went from being a predator to being prey, and I was the hunter. But this was still just the beginning. What I did next would destroy him so completely that he'd wish he'd never heard the name Lina Rodriguez. If you think psychological warfare is intense, wait until you hear about the trap I set that brought him down completely. Hit that subscribe button because the final takedown is going to blow your mind. Tell me in the comments, do you think psychological revenge is more effective than legal revenge? Because what I did to Mike's mind was way more devastating than anything the courts could have done to him. After 6 months of psychological warfare, Marcus called me with the news I'd been waiting for. "I found him," he said. "And Lena, he's got a new target." Mike had moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and was calling himself David Angelo now. But more importantly, he was dating a woman named Dr. Rebecca Chen, a cardiac surgeon who'd just gone through a messy divorce and was worth about $2.3 million. My blood ran cold. I was watching my own story play out all over again with a different woman, and I couldn't let it happen. Marcus had tracked Mike's movements for 2 weeks. Every Tuesday night, he took Rebecca to the same upscale restaurant, Dominic's Italian Bistro in downtown Phoenix. It was his pattern, just like everything else. Same romantic setting, same manipulation tactics, probably even the same lies about his fake tragic past. I booked a flight to Phoenix that same day. Sarah and Jennifer wanted to come with me, but I told them no. This confrontation needed to be surgical, precise, and I couldn't risk him getting away if things went wrong. This was my mission, and I was going to finish it alone. I arrived at Dominic's at 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, wearing a black dress and carrying a small purse with my phone already recording. I'd called ahead and reserved a table with a perfect view of the restaurant's main dining area. At exactly 8:15 p.m., Mike walked in with Rebecca. Seeing him again after 8 months felt like getting punched in the stomach. He looked different, thinner, nervous, constantly scanning the room like he was expecting trouble. The confident predator I'd married was gone, replaced by a paranoid shell of a man who jumped every time a server approached his table. But there he was, holding Rebecca's hand, giving her the same loving looks he'd given me, probably telling her the same lies about their future together. I watched them for 20 minutes, letting them get comfortable, letting Mike think he was safe. Rebecca was laughing at his jokes, completely enchanted, totally unaware that she was having dinner with a monster who was planning to destroy her life. That's when I stood up, walked directly to their table, and said the words that would end Michael Thompson's criminal career forever. "Hello, Mike. Or should I call you David Angelo? Or maybe Michael David Thompson, which is your real name?" The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might pass out. Rebecca looked confused, glancing between Mike and me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "I'm sorry, do we know you?" Rebecca asked politely. "We don't," I replied, keeping my voice calm and steady, "but I know him very well. My name is Lina Rodriguez, and this man was married to me when he stole $780,000 from our joint accounts and disappeared. He's done the same thing to at least 15 other women across the country." Mike started stammering, trying to stand up. "This is crazy, Rebecca. I have no idea who this woman is. She's obviously mentally unstable." But I was ready for his lies. I pulled out my phone, which had been recording everything, and started playing audio from our fake dating conversations. His own voice filled the restaurant, saying the exact same romantic lines to my fake profiles that he was probably saying to Rebecca. "This recording is from 3 weeks ago," I announced loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "He's currently dating 3 women online while dating you, Rebecca. Same lies, same promises, same plan to steal everything you own." The restaurant had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring at our table, phones coming out to record the confrontation. Mike was trapped, and he knew it. "Rebecca, we need to leave," Mike said desperately, grabbing her arm. But Rebecca pulled away from him, her medical training making her naturally analytical. "Wait," she said firmly. "Let her finish." That's when I delivered the final blow. I pulled out printed copies of court documents, police reports, and bank records showing Mike's pattern of fraud. I spread them across their dinner table like playing cards. His real name is Michael David Thompson. He's stolen over $4.2 million from women across 8 states. There are currently 3 active warrants for his arrest in Texas, Colorado, and California for marriage fraud and identity theft. Mike's composure completely cracked. He started shouting about harassment, about restraining orders, about calling the police. The irony was beautiful. He was threatening to call the same police who were looking for him. "Please, call the police," I said calmly. "I'd love to introduce them to Michael David Thompson." That's when he ran. Mike literally pushed his chair back and sprinted toward the restaurant's exit, leaving Rebecca sitting there in shock, surrounded by evidence of his crimes. But I wasn't done. I followed him out to the parking lot, my phone still recording, and shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. "This man is a fugitive wanted in multiple states for marriage fraud. Someone call 911. Other diners had followed us outside, and within minutes, half the restaurant was recording Mike's complete meltdown. He was running between cars, trying to find his rental, screaming that I was crazy and stalking him. I posted the video to TikTok before I even got back to my hotel. The caption read, "Marriage scammer exposed. Confronted my ex-husband who stole $780K and is currently scamming another victim." The video exploded overnight. 3 million views in 12 hours. News stations picked it up. "Marriage scammer confronted at restaurant" became a trending topic on Twitter. The hashtag Michael Thompson exposed was shared over 100,000 times. But the best part? Rebecca called me the next morning to thank me and tell me she'd already contacted Phoenix police with all the information I'd given her. 2 days later, I got the call I'd been dreaming about for 10 months. "Lena, it's Marcus. They got him. Phoenix PD arrested Michael Thompson this morning on multiple warrants. He's being extradited to Texas to face fraud charges." Mike was finally in custody, and it was my video that led to his capture. The marriage scammer who'd destroyed so many lives was brought down by the woman he'd underestimated most. The final strike had landed, and Michael Thompson's reign of terror was over. If you want to see how this story ends and what happened to Mike in prison, hit that subscribe button because the justice we got was more satisfying than I ever imagined. Tell me in the comments, would you have had the courage to confront your scammer publicly like this? Because what happened next proved that sometimes the best revenge is just exposing the truth. The trial was everything I dreamed about and more. Michael David Thompson sat in that courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, looking nothing like the confident predator who'd destroyed so many lives. The man who'd once charmed women out of millions was now a broken, paranoid shell who flinched every time someone entered the room. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Bank records, marriage certificates, victim testimonies, recorded phone calls, digital evidence from his dating profiles. Everything Sarah, Jennifer, and I had gathered over 10 months of relentless investigation. The prosecution didn't just have a case, they had an airtight fortress of proof. 15 women testified against him. 15 brilliant, successful, beautiful women who'd had their lives destroyed by the same man using the same tactics. The courtroom was filled with his victims, and for the first time in years, Mike couldn't charm his way out of consequences. When the judge read the verdict, guilty on all counts of marriage fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, and racketeering, I felt something I hadn't experienced since that devastating letter arrived in Germany. Pure, overwhelming relief. 15 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for the first 10 years. But the real justice came when the judge ordered full restitution. Every penny Mike had stolen, plus interest, plus penalties, had to be returned to his victims. The government seized his offshore accounts, his luxury cars, his jewelry, even the expensive suits he'd worn to charm us. Everything he'd bought with our stolen money was liquidated and returned to where it belonged. I got back $847,000, my original $780,000 plus interest and penalties. Sarah recovered $1.6 million. Jennifer got her $400,000 back, plus enough to restart her real estate business. Every single victim got their money back, and Mike was left with absolutely nothing. But I wasn't satisfied with just legal justice. Mike had played psychological games with us for years, and I wanted to return the favor one final time. 3 weeks after his sentencing, I sat down at my kitchen table and wrote him a letter. Not a long, angry rant about what he'd done to me. not threats or accusations or emotional outbursts. Just one simple sentence that would haunt him for the rest of his miserable life. The letter was typed on plain white paper. No return address. Just like the divorce letter he'd sent me, but this time, the tables were turned completely. I hope every time you meet someone, you wonder if they already know who you are. That was it. 20 words that would destroy his ability to trust another human being for the rest of his existence. According to Marcus, who still had contacts monitoring Mike's situation, that letter broke something fundamental inside him. Mike became completely paranoid in prison, convinced that every new inmate, every guard, every visitor was somehow connected to me or one of his other victims. He started isolating himself, refusing to participate in group activities, spending most of his time alone in his cell. Other inmates said he'd mutter to himself about how everyone was watching him, how he couldn't trust anyone, how his victims had turned the entire world against him. The master manipulator, who'd spent years psychologically torturing women, was now living in constant psychological terror himself. Every new person he met, every conversation he tried to have, every attempt at forming any kind of human connection was poisoned by the fear that they already knew exactly who he was and what he'd done. He tried to make friends with other inmates, but he'd panic if they asked too many questions. He attempted to charm female prison staff, but he'd freeze up wondering if they'd seen the viral videos of his breakdown. He couldn't even trust his own lawyer, because he was convinced everyone was part of some massive conspiracy against him. The beautiful irony was perfect. Mike had spent his entire criminal career exploiting women's ability to trust and love. Now he was completely incapable of trusting anyone himself. The psychological warfare I'd waged against him had rewired his brain permanently. Meanwhile, my life was transforming in ways I never imagined possible. With my money recovered and my reputation restored, I bought a beautiful house in Austin. Nothing too fancy, just a cozy 3-bedroom home with a garden where I could finally plant the flowers I dreamed about during those lonely nights sleeping on Maria's couch. But more importantly, I found my true calling. I started a nonprofit organization called Phoenix Rising to help other women who'd been victims of marriage fraud and financial abuse. We provided legal assistance, emotional support, investigation services, and most importantly, the knowledge that they weren't alone. Sarah left the tech industry and joined my organization full-time, using her technical skills to help track down scammers and protect potential victims. Jennifer rebuilt her real estate empire and donated a portion of her profits to fund our operations. We became a team of avengers, helping women fight back against predators who thought they could destroy lives without consequences. In our first year, we helped recover over $3.2 million for victims and got 7 different marriage scammers arrested across the country. The media attention from our story had made us minor celebrities in the world of victim advocacy. I was invited to speak at conferences, appear on podcasts, and consult with law enforcement agencies about marriage fraud prevention. My TikTok account had grown to over 2 million followers, and I used the platform to educate women about red flags and warning signs. But the most satisfying part was the messages I received every single day from women thanking me for giving them the courage to fight back against their own abusers. Women who'd seen my story and realized they didn't have to suffer in silence. Women who'd learned to recognize manipulation tactics before they became victims. I'd turned my worst nightmare into my greatest purpose. 6 months after Mike's sentencing, I got a call from the federal prison where he was being held. He'd requested a meeting with me, something about wanting to apologize and make amends. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the phone. "Tell Mr. Thompson," I said to the prison counselor, "that I hope every day in prison feels as long as the nights I spent sleeping in my car after he destroyed my life. And remind him that every time he wants to trust someone, he should remember that they might already know exactly who he is." I never responded to his letters. I never visited him in prison. I never gave him the closure or forgiveness he was desperately seeking. Because the most powerful thing I could do was exactly what he'd done to me: disappear completely and leave him wondering. Mike had tried to break me, to to reduce me to nothing, to steal not just my money but my ability to trust and love and hope. Instead, he created his worst nightmare, a woman who was stronger, smarter, more determined, and completely immune to his manipulation tactics. He'd given me the greatest gift possible without realizing it. He'd shown me exactly how strong I really was. Today, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. I have a career I'm passionate about, friends who've become family, and a sense of purpose that makes every day meaningful. I've helped dozens of women escape situations like mine, and I sleep soundly every night knowing that Mike is lying awake in his cell, afraid to trust his own shadow. The woman who was once destroyed by a marriage scammer had become the marriage scammer's worst enemy. And the beautiful thing is, there are now hundreds of women just like me, survivors who've turned their pain into power and their trauma into triumph. Tell me in the comments, do you think Mike got what he deserved, or should his punishment have been even harsher? Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just justice, it's becoming everything your abuser never thought you could be. If you enjoyed this story, hit the subscribe button, like, and share with others. See you in our next video.